Hey, Marianne Gal here. Welcome to the Coffee Talkie Show, the podcast for women living abroad. And today we have a special guest with us, Jules. Together, we will talk about the common challenges faced by women moving or living abroad, along with the role of mindset in creating a better life abroad. But first, let us introduce you to our guest. Jules is a life and business coach for the ambitious women who want to create the life they want without sacrificing their well being. She's been creating a world of entrepreneurship for 20 years in a foreign country. She moved from Russia to the United States 25 years ago. She is a recovering perfectionist. I love this sentence. Realist and people pleaser who felt lost and disconnected with who she was. Jules' journey led her to advance her coaching skills to learn magical mind and body tools to help her expand her view of herself and the world. She is blessed to share her impactful coaching with many brilliant and amazing women just like you. She says that witnessing her clients creating their vision in life is priceless. We invite you to grab your coffee and notebook and give a big loving welcome to Jules. Hi, Jules. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me, fun ladies.
Oh, this is awesome. We love recording podcasts with guests, and we are sure this is going to be an excellent one. So, to jump straight right in, can you tell us a little bit about your personal experience with moving abroad?
Yes, it happened more than 20 years ago. So I moved from Moscow, Russia to Buffalo, New York. And that was a shock just because I lived in a big city where everything is beautiful and vibrant and so much life and all of that. And then I lived in the suburbs of Buffalo, which kind of like looked like a village. So that was initial shock. So and I remember when my husband took me to Buffalo and he's like, "Well, this is a city." And I said, "Well, I don't know." When I learned English, so there was quite a bit of distinguish between the city and the town. So I think it's a town. That's not a city. So, yeah, and there was not much happening there. So just that town is very much dying or only exists for business. So yeah, that was initial shock. And obviously, I did not drive, so I didn't know how to drive. And in America, without a car, you cannot go anywhere. So you kind of like feel confined, and my English wasn't that great. So every time I opened the mouth, people would be like, "What?" So that made me angry. So, and basically, I stayed in the house trying to figure it out things while like he was working. And I started just to walk around the neighborhood, and there weren't many pedestrians. So if you've been to America, you know there are not many pedestrians, especially not in the big city. But there were some people walking, and I was very pleased with their friendliness because when I met some people on my walks, and they would be saying, "Good morning, how are you?" And like in Russia, that's not a very common thing. So I would be like, "Do you know me? What's going on here?" And then I got used to it. So I would be also saying, "Good morning. How are you? I don't know you, but hello." So, and that just took time for me to learn how to drive. So, yeah. And those highways, they still intimidate me because they're just huge and there's so much movement going on there. It's like, ah. So I'm okay with scenery routes. And so I went to school, I went to college because I'm all into studying. And I started to learn more English and like other business courses, things like that. Also, what was very helpful for me at that time, I studied at Toastmasters, and I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that. No? Okay. Well, it's usually known as a public speaking organization, but it's really overall communication. And I studied that in Moscow, Russia, because I wanted to learn English. So, and you go there and you just like do public speaking, but you do it in English, which was like challenging because my native language is Russian. But anyway, I was up for the challenge. But this organization is worldwide. So when I moved to Buffalo, in the suburbs of Buffalo, I was looking for the Toastmasters Club just to meet some people and continue my language experience and all of that. So I found a few clubs. I went there and then I picked the one I liked. And that's how I started to meet people and got interested in things there. And our meetings were held at 8 o'clock in the morning once a week. So I had to get up early in the morning, go and listen to others and meet people. And that was a really good club. So they were very welcoming and interesting and determined. So that was my kind of way out to meet people and also practice my English and things like that.
Well, moving abroad is can be an amazing experience, right? And you mentioned some of the challenges I can hear between your sentences, and I want to ask you a little bit more about those challenges. So, except of you not driving and not speaking great English, what other challenges maybe you faced when you just moved to the US, moving from Moscow to a little town?
Well, I think there was a little bit of that identity crisis because I didn't know many people. And back then, I was calling myself an introvert because I am by nature. So, and it was tough in that sense because I didn't really meet with girlfriends and just have a good time or go and complain. I would be just complaining to my husband, or just because I couldn't drive. And of course, I love to be independent. So you can just go and do whatever you want. Um, and then English was, yeah, I mean, it was pretty annoying when I started to talk and people would be just like, what? I'm like, that's not my problem. That's your problem. You don't understand me.
That's a good way to do this. Like that's not my problem. Like you should improve your listening skills and your adaptability. It's not only my side of the story.
Well, and this is something that I would say now. Back then, I was taking all the blame. So, yeah. And then I think what was helping me was I was willing to move. That was like one of my goals, to live in America. So I was determined, perhaps, from that perspective. And I also had, so to speak, an American dream because of the stories that I was inspired by when I lived in Russia. So I think maybe that was helping me to stay there. So I started to kind of adapt a new identity. So, like, I couldn't go to an extrovert, but I decided to be a connector because I like to connect with people. And it does not mean I have to be like this, vibrant all the time. So I could still be an introvert, but then putting an identity, I'm a connector. I just start connecting with people, just simply like wherever I go, wherever I meet people. Like I talk, I ask, like especially in Toastmasters clubs, because when I joined that club, people started introducing me to like things to do. Some people volunteered to drive me places. Because American people are very nice and very friendly, especially in Buffalo. So I had no issues. And I also had to learn to ask for help. So, and like being like a strong woman who doesn't ask for help. So that's another little identity moment. because otherwise I'm confined in the house, or you can come pick me up. um, so what else? Just going to, also, like, I went to a college, and it was a community college because I had to start like somewhere. And I was 25, so like I was an adult. And I already had my Russian degree. But just going there and hanging out like with teenagers or whatever, younger people, so that was a little bit off. Like, I did not enjoy that much, and I was like the most mature in the class. And the most diligent and responsible and straight A's and all of that stuff, right? um so, and then after the community college, I went to the university. So that was a little bit up, but still, like, I felt different. Yeah. So, and probably all this time is just me accepting my difference, right? Just like being different, seeing that I am different in many ways, and just being okay with it. Like, that's probably been my journey for all this time here.
I love that you mention it because I think a lot of our listeners can relate to this idea of like, who am I when you move abroad? Like, there's this identity crisis of like, you want to keep on being yourself, like you were an introvert, and keep on speaking your language and keep on doing your own things and your customs and your cultures,
And
and
even you mentioned you were a strong woman, and for those of you who are just listening to us, you like it's I was a strong woman,
quoted.
quoted, but and you want to keep it this way, and suddenly you need to ask for help. Does it make me last stronger? Like, who is this woman I become?
And this is something we hear a lot from our clients, our audience as well. Like, come on, I know how to open a bank account. I've done it 10 times before. Why can I not do it now by myself? Or I looked for apartments and I had no problem. I can tell you that I'm 34. I rented apartments in my life, like at least four of them until now. And right now, I need the help of my parents to rent me an apartment because friends and the system is so complicated. So, sometimes we're like, but, but who am I? Like, who is this person right now? So I think it's important that you mention it because it is a big challenge when you move to another country.
Yeah, and I cried a lot, so I don't lie. Also, being a strong woman who cries and asks for help. And yes, also in Russia, especially back then, we did not have a strong financial system. So I really never wrote checks or like had a bank account and ATMs and all that kind of stuff. So I had to learn all of that, like writing checks and paying bills and yeah, getting loans and all of that. And yes, I remember also the identity crisis. When I went to get my driver's license, they required, I think, three forms of ID with the same name. And this is when I realized that all the three IDs that I had my name, but spelled differently. That was like the lady behind the desk. She had no idea what to do with me, and she did not give me the driver's license because none of my IDs had my name on it, and some had like a picture, but some didn't, because these are the ideas I had. And I had my like a foreign international passport from Russia, and that was spelled with a French spelling. Somehow they decided to do it that way. Then I had, I think, something like a college ID, and that was spelled differently. And whatever else I had, I don't remember, that was spelled differently. So she was so confused. She sent me home.
We can totally understand you. That's crazy because we have two different names. We have a French name on our citizenship in France, and an Hebrew name on our Israeli citizenship, and those are not even connected. Like, we have two identities. And like, actually, an hour ago, someone called me like, I see that you deposit the money, but it's not your name. Whose name is it? Like, oh, that's my other name. Like, what? Who are you? That's so
And like,
confusing.
I don't think my name is quite like, it was misspelled a couple of times, but it's like Gal. It's quite easy. But I think I
Mine,
haven't seen your name written once the correct way, like your first name. No one.
two A's, two N, and E at the end. It's like, come on.
The A is not in the right place. So yeah, that's
And
also a big thing.
it's silly, but it can be so frustrating and really create, this identity crisis. So if my name is not the same on my IDs, then who am I?
Yeah, exactly. So that was just one after the other, confirming, like, yeah, who am I? And then also, I don't know when I used to say it in the past, like Julia, people heard as Judith or Judy. So that annoyed me so much. I was like, how do I say this? Then I started to really slow down and just say Julia. So because I was so annoyed, like, why are you thinking I'm Judy when I'm Julia? Yeah, and then I also had last name that was very long, Russian name, just like very long. And every time you make an appointment or see somebody and you have to spell it out. And really, it's not that complicated. There is just all A's in between. That's it. But they get so confused. It's like, well, just say that and put A's everywhere in between the consonants. That's it. But no, I would be on the phone like for 2 or 3 minutes just to spell my name.
Oh, we can totally get that.
I like, honestly, like, you should see our last name. Totally get it. Totally understand what you're going. I had to spell my last name like today earlier, and it's like, do you have a pen and paper and a couple of minutes? We'll get there. just, just breathe. Just breathe before.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, those things can be really challenging for a foreigner coming to another country. Like, there's a lot of things going on that we don't necessarily think about, because it's not like the normal things that everyone is talking about when moving abroad. Is like, do I have the visa? Do I have school for the kids? Do I, like, even knowing the language? You can know the language, but is it enough? Will you feel like you can talk, be yourself in this language? We have another entire podcast episode about it. Like, can you be yourself in another language sometimes? So those are normal challenges
Yeah.
that we all face.
Well, that was a lot of thinking going into every day for sure. So, because especially in the beginning, so you have to wake up and have kind of like whole plan going or figuring things out. And I mean, I spent a lot of times watching TV and learning English with soap operas. And because I was confined in the house, I didn't drive. I only could walk and, cook or something. And then I would be just like sitting there watching all the soap operas. I knew the names and everything. So, and that's how I learned English primarily. So I would just put the subtitles and sit there like, okay, I'm getting something now. So yeah, now I don't watch them, so I don't know what's going on. But back then, I was like a soap opera queen.
Oh, that's amazing. And that's a good tip for everyone listening to us right now. Like, if you're trying to improve your language, like your local language, TV, magazines, music,
Even soap operas.
soap operas are really good for that. Um, let's talk a little bit about the role of mindset when you, like, how does it play when dealing with all those challenges? And actually, would you mind sharing what mindset is?
Hmm. Yeah, that's a good question. I think, in simple terms, mindset is just a set of beliefs or thoughts that we keep thinking over and over again that become our beliefs. And when they become in our whole system, we think this is what the truth is. But really, we just create our own truth by the thoughts we think. So because we essentially live in a thought-based reality, so and we create those thoughts. So that's why when you start noticing your thoughts, becoming the observer of your thoughts, that you create the separation. Like, okay, I see the thoughts I'm thinking, and are they helping me? Are they serving me? Or they really sabotaging me? And because also thoughts, they create feelings. So the way they think, we feel, and usually the feelings become that GPS system. So because when we think bad thoughts, we feel bad, which really just means these are not true thoughts. They're like, this is not the truth. So, but we, program to think negatively just because of how our subconscious mind is designed, because it all helps us to be safe. And of course, when you are in the moments of stress, and also back then, perhaps I was not like that well educated on mindset. So, like now, I can go back and say, well, I should have done this. But back then, I was exposing myself to some work of that nature, but I wouldn't say that I was totally equipped with what I know now. So, and I think in the beginning, also when you're stressed out and you have this identity crisis, you're basically like, oh my God, nobody loves me. And I wanted to come here. And like, what am I going to do? And this is horrible. Right. So it's just there. So, and the best way to deal with it is just allow yourself to feel that way, because that's just what is, instead of resisting it and only adding more resistance to it. So, and yes, like it took me a while, probably a few months before I started to take actions and started like to do something and started to face my challenges and be okay with them not understanding me, or be okay with nobody loves me. So, but this is where I am. Um, so, from what I say now, um, like, yeah, so I don't know where I'm going with this. But what I say now is that when I see my thoughts, when I observe them, and I also see that they're not really serving me, so I work with them. So just work to understand, like, why am I thinking this way? Just because like every thought we think, it has also like that secondary benefit, and usually it's just to keep me safe. So like me crying and resisting and saying like nobody loves me, that was just simply a way for me to feel safe and don't do anything and don't face anything, and like cry in bed and watch more soap operas, and that's it. Then I will not be rejected, I will not be feeling worse than I am already, and my not good enough will be happy, because how else can I prove I'm not good enough if I stay in bed? So this is just an interesting way how our mind is set up to kind of help us. But if we don't take the dominion of our thoughts, then a lot of the thoughts we're thinking, they're really not helping that much. But again, back then in my development, I did not know what I know now. Yeah, I don't know if I answered that question or not.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I think a lot of women that are moving abroad and are not familiar with mindset work and what mindset is and what we can do about it, because we can do amazing things with our mind, and it can really help us and serve us in a way, we really want to, and just not just protect us by doing nothing. But a lot of what those women who are just right now, just as you described that you were at the beginning, thinking, nobody loves me, everyone is against me, this is so hard, I'm never going to be able to drive or speak or make new friends or get a job in a foreign language. So, and this is how we think, this is how we feel, and then our reaction and our behavior is just the same, and nothing really moves forward. And that's a vicious cycle that, you know a lot of time make us feel so frustrated, sad, stressed out, and just miserable about this experience of life abroad. And like you mentioned, you say, hey, but I wanted this. I had this American dream. So why am I here watching soap operas and crying? And there are a lot of things that we can do to work on our mindset and to train our mind to do things in a different way.
We're talking about it in different areas of what we do as glasses, like the same way that you can walk around with very blurry glasses, very dirty glasses. You will be able to walk around, but you will probably not really enjoy the view, not feel secure, not feel safe. Something will feel off. Well, our mindset is exactly the same thing. It's like those filters on our eyes. And the same way we can change glasses, we can train our mind to look at things differently, to change those belief systems that you talked about, to change the way we approach things. And all those things, our feeling, our thoughts, our behaviors, are basically what we call mindset. So once we understand it, we can improve the situation for our own sake. Like nobody else, like people will enjoy it as well, but us in the first place. And as you said, we've done it too. Like we never used the word mindset 10 years ago, probably not 7 years ago. Like this is something that became very trendy these past years. It's not new, but it just became trendy. It's a word everyone uses right now. So we use it as well. But we know, like, since forever we've done things a certain way, and that's how I guess you came to do what you do right now as well. It's like it was not unfamiliar totally, it's just the words were not familiar.
Yes, exactly. So we did not use that concept for sure. And I did not come with that concept. I mean, I was like sort of studying that positive thinking, but it was more, I think, affirmation driven than the actual work of understanding like my own patterns and working with them. And also, I think the main challenge here is the fear. So just admitting that you are afraid, like that could be so powerful. But at the same time, feeling the fear does not feel good. And of course, we are trained to resist what we feel, especially when it doesn't feel good. So that's why just knowing that you're afraid, it's normal to be afraid. Can you get like cozy with yourself and have a cup of tea and just, maybe dump some thoughts that make you scared even more than you are already? So, like, again, I did not have those skills. I only felt that, yes, I was scared. I was afraid. It didn't feel good. Let me resist that more. And that only added more resistance. So, in going back to what you said, yes, like that mindset is just like removing the glasses or removing the clouds and see the world differently. And that comes from that self identity concept because what you think about yourself determines what's possible for you. And of course, in that moment, I felt like a victim, more or less, because why did I move here? And everything is crazy. And this is not how I was imagining it. And really, what's going on? And all of that, right? Why is it happening to me? And I'm just not lucky. And then you also go and like compare others. So, and this is how these people live. And like, why am I not like that? So I just got stuck in that cycle of, and also that victim mentality is very much prevalent in Russian culture. So like I was so much ingrained with it, and that added extra layer. And of course, from that identity of a victim, I could not see even what could be possible on the other side. And this is the beautiful part of it, and this is the beautiful part of the challenge of moving to another country or setting some goals for yourself. It's like when you cross that bridge, this whole world opens up for you. And like, but that's where the work needs to happen. So from that fear to like, wow, this is what's possible for me. And that has to start with you seeing yourself, like creating that different identity for yourself. Just like I said, I went from an introvert to I am a connector. And I started to know so many people in Buffalo. Not like we became friends, but I knew a lot of people, and a lot of people knew me. So sometimes we would go to grocery store and people would be like, "Oh, hi, Julia." It's like, "Okay, hello. I don't remember you, but yeah, sure." Because I started to get more and more involved in like different activities, and Toastmaster was very active, so we did a lot of meetings, activities, all kind of stuff. So, and that gave me some boost and some confidence. Like people actually, like me or at least notice me. So, that's why I think the statements that going back to the mindset, the statements that we say to ourselves after I am, they're so paramount. And they're the ones who determine if we're going to cross that bridge to see what's possible on the other side of that fear, or on that I'm an introvert and I'm a connector. So now, because of that identity, I have the business that I have, I do the workshops that I do, I still continue connecting with people. So that becomes like a way of living for me. And what's become possible out of it, well, like this podcast interview. So I would not do it back then. But because of all that experience, I'm more willing, more open, and more accepting of this part of me. Is it still fearful? Am I still nervous? Yes, but I'm okay with that. I'm just doing it while I'm nervous and while I'm fearful, because that's what the courage is. And what's on the other side? Well, we might just help somebody.
Absolutely. I love it. And I really love your metaphor about crossing the bridge, because sometimes we're so afraid of just going on the bridge, not along, cross the bridge. It seems so tough, so hard, so scary. But once you do it, it's like a whole new world opens up, and a lot of opportunities and endless possibilities. And all you got to do is just cross the bridge. And on previous conversations we had, you talked about this mindset of a victim, like you mentioned here today as well, and the mindset of a creator. Okay, so that's the other side of the bridge. Once you go from one place, being a victim, to the other side of the bridge, being a creator of your own life, then your whole life looks the opposite of being a victim, and everything is possible. So I wanted to go a little bit deeper on this transition from being a victim, a mindset victim, to having a mindset of a creator, and what is possible when we do this transition, and how we can actually do this transition.
Mhm. Yes, that's an excellent question, and I love talking about it. And of course, back then I was not in the creative mindset, but that allows me to see the opposites. And also, I was looking at life more from that victim side position, just because I happened to ask the question, why is it happening to me? And why am I not lucky so much? And why am I so cursed? And why there are so many hardships and so many difficulties? Because that's how I saw the life. So, like, that's the glasses I was wearing. And that's what determined what could be possible for me, I suppose. But I think that is like deep inside of me, I had that, I don't know, inner soul, whatever you want to call it, inner guidance, that I was a creator. I wanted to exercise that creative power within me. So that's why I looked at America as a country of opportunities. And when I lived in Russia, I was always fascinated with the stories that people come to America and they have $20 in their pockets, and then it's like, boom. So a part of me thought that, yes, a part of me thought, well, you go to America, you just need to own your own business. And back then, I did not know what business would that be, because back then I never had a chance to ask what Jules want, right? So you just think like, okay, business, whatever that is. And so I happen to have a very, I guess, curious and expensive husband. And one day we actually stepped into the world of the franchise and moved to Ohio from Buffalo and own a franchise for 10 years. So I think that part of me, who was the creator inside of me, just kind of led the life. And what also led me to, from that, to actually start asking the question, what Jules want. So, and I think that bridge from the victim to the creator starts by asking the right question. And the right question is not why it's happening to me, but how is it happening for me? So, because I think back then I saw life as like bad or good, or worse or better. But really, this is the sequence of life events. And it's pretty much flowy and fluid to experience in and outs and out and ins, because I'm trying to stay away from the language of bad and good, because again, who makes it bad and good? It's my mindset and what I'm making about it. So that's why, as I'm practicing now, to ask the question, how's it happening for me? How can I grow with this experience? Because it is moving through it, but not to fix it. It's just navigating it. So that's why, like, I ask the question, well, how can I navigate my day today? Or what can I create today? So, what would be fun to create today? So, what would be easy to create today? So, and this is all like, yeah, relatively new language for me. So, because from the victim mindset, of course, I did not possess like saying easy and allowing and all that kind of stuff. That was not a part of my vocabulary, because my identity was I was a victim. So that comes with a certain set of thoughts, certain set of words, certain set of behaviors, because it had to match up to that identity. So that's why, as I am creating my new identity of a creator, so these are the type of questions and thoughts that I am supporting myself. And also, by wearing, so to speak, this identity, I allow myself to connect with the abundance in the world, because essentially it's always 50-50, right? And when I was in that lack mentality of the victim, that abundance was always here. It's just my focus and attention was on the other side. And as you know, ladies, whatever the focus and attention goes, that's where the energy flows, right? But again, like, nobody sort of like showed it up to me or opened up that world until it did happen. And I was also ready. So I think I was also ready to receive and actually like see, like, wow, yeah, like it could be easy. Like, yeah, it could be fun. And who makes it? It's not the circumstances. It's not that they don't understand me, or it's not that I don't speak language or whatever. It's like, how can I make it happy? How can I make it fun? How can I make it creative? Because essentially it's all about me. And here's the beautiful thing, I'm the only one who can control myself. So, yes, that's why I learned one of the biggest lessons, that when I stopped changing my husband about 10 years ago, suddenly things got way better.
I think that's a great lesson to everyone listening to us. Like, when we stop focusing all your energy trying to change external things, well, things starts to be better. Simply by you investing your energy where you actually can do something and changing, like if we're talking here about life abroad, changing governments, cultures, languages, other people's
System.
systems. This is a lot of energy waste because this is not gonna happen. But what are you doing? And I love that you talked about like moving from this victim mentality of why is it happening to me into how is it happening for me, and try and see it. And it's actually, you talk about easy, and it wasn't the vocabulary, but it's really like this moment that you start questioning your own thoughts, like, hey, I decided to move to a certain country, I'm here for a reason. Then let's figure out what is the reason, and not why is it so hard, like, why is it happening to me, against me, this victim mentality. And that's really like
And it's a
a
real
decision.
life, it's a life changer, once you understand that you can take control, you control yourself, you control the way you feel, because like you mentioned at the beginning, your mindset, will impact directly how you feel. If you think bad things, if you think like a victim, this is how you'll feel. And once you learn to control it and to impact your own thoughts and your own feelings, then your whole life can change.
One of the things that I heard, you heard it too, a couple of months ago, that really made another, like, sometimes you hear something and like, wow, yes. So, and it was, once we changed the words that we use from I have to or I need to uh, do certain things, etc., to I get to do the things. And it's like, as simple as I have to go to the supermarket, or I get to go to the supermarket, and instinctively the situation change. This is when we talk here about changing your mindset, adapting your mindset into something that serves you. It's sometimes as simple as twisting the words so that it serves you better, and you see an entire different reality thanks to it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's for sure. Yes, that's absolutely true. And also, what it allows you to do, oh, well, you practice that actually. So you practice noticing how the thoughts you think feel in your body. And if we just practice it right now, if you put your hand on your heart and just simply say what you said, I have to go to the supermarket. And that most likely feel like restrictive. So, the more you stay connected with your body, the more you start noticing, like, ugh, it's like automatically just gets that restrictive moment. And then you just say, yeah, I choose to go to the supermarket. And that feels more expansive and easy and feels good. So, when things feel good, you are good and you see good things. So, because it all comes from you. And I think that's what in manifestation world, we call it the law of resonance, because we don't attract what we want, we attract who we are. So, and that's what the being that you are creating is going to resonate that what you want to attract. So, if you want to attract more ease in your situation, then how can you be ease? How can you represent that in your identity, in your thoughts? So, if you want to attract more, yeah, abundance in your life abroad, then how can you be abundance? Because when you're saying, or like happiness, right? So like I want to attract more happiness while living abroad. So how can you be happiness? Which when you start saying I'm happy, well, you just automatically start thinking happy thoughts, because that's the law of resonance. Because like you can start sort of like with that affirmation, you can start just loading and programming happy thoughts, but that's going to be like a long way in. So, like, essentially, it catches up to your identity. Or you can kind of do a shortcut and start with an identity, start wearing that identity. I'm happy. And it's like, you just start thinking happy thoughts. Like, I am creative. You start thinking creative thoughts. Um, or like one of my things was, I don't have time. Well, that's not really serving me. So, how can I create more time? How can I create more time for what's important to me? And maybe that's where it has to start. What is important to me? And I think maybe like for most women, especially the ones I'm working right now, we have certain certain behaviors perhaps that stand on the way a lot of times. And there is a tendency for women to go into that perfectionistic side. And that creates a lot of self sabotaging behaviors because our drive to make it perfect pulls us away from what is, from navigating what is. Because life is not about perfection, but I think from our historical development and whatever, we just figured out that if we only work harder or if we only make perfect, then everybody is happy. So, and that's where again you have to check in with your body and just see, like, okay, when I'm after that perfectionism, does it feel constrictive? And do I want to lead my life from that constrictive place? Because when you're constricted, there is no room or energy to create. There is no room or energy to go and connect with foreign people and play with them just with fun and not like make it too serious, right? So, like, that's the tendency that I see, which is very common in most women. And then another one is just like that all or nothing mentality. So it's like, I either do this or I don't do this. And again, when you're living abroad or just living, it doesn't have to be abroad. This is not very flexible. And you're putting yourself into this or that. That's why one of the paramount coaching tips I give them, I'm like, okay, let's look at it this and that. It is not you first, it is you too. Can we make it that you are important and they're important? So, and they just usually get blown away. It's like, what? Is it possible? So, just like that identity, right? So, and then they just suddenly, just because I allowed them to bring this thought in their head, suddenly they like start, do, like the brain goes, okay, how can we make it end? And then they come back and just like, well, and this, and this, and that. I'm like, great, you're moving forward. How does it feel? Feels good.
Absolutely. There are so many things we could do, and once we start putting those question marks on our life and our way of thinking and how do we want to really live and how do we want to really feel, then it's an ongoing process. It's a journey. It's not that you decide today to be okay, I won't be perfect anymore, I will be the creator of my life, I will be happy from today on, and next day it happens. It's not about that. It's about really working on this and changing patterns in yourself and changing your mindset and doing the work. And this is where you come in the picture, and we do it as well. But you are a coach, right? And you work with women to exactly do that, as you mentioned, to just blow their mind and change their life. And it's actually changing lives. So tell us a little bit more about your coaching business and how you do it, and where can women can find you and reach out to you.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity to talk about my services. Just going back to what we talked about before, I think one of the most important questions, like you said, questioning your thoughts, like going back to, I need to go to the market. So if we pause and slow down and just simply ask, is it really, really true that I need to go to the market? Most likely it's going to be not true, because do you really need to? You can be perfectly fine to stay where you are and eat whatever you have. Right? So, and this is like where that bridge starts, just simply like, yeah, what you said, pause, question your thoughts. And I think what I do in my coaching is to help women come to their wholeness. So, a lot of times I call it journey to wholeness, because I think all those tendencies that we have, perfectionism or all or nothing or whatever else, it's just for the fear to be rejected. But essentially, if we use that as a mirror, so most likely we're already rejecting some parts of ourselves. So that's why we put that armor over perfectionism to cover it up. or like reject myself first. So then when you're rejecting me, I was like, oh, I know that. So that's why, as we peel the layers and do the work in the mind, in the body, because I do coaching on all levels, the emotional, somatic, mindset, subconscious. So then we remove all those layers and essentially um, create a journey of self-compassion and love, because that's essentially where we all want to be, except that we again put all that armor trying to cover things up. But when we create that own wholeness, like, I accept myself being right now imperfect, I accept myself being grumpy, I accept myself being happy. When you start accepting yourself at all levels, because first and foremost you are a human, and humans are designed to feel, and they're designed not to be perfect, because this is a growth and an evolution. But I think a lot of times the way we go about it is almost like when we have a mean girl and she would say, like, well, you should have done this and you should have done that. Then it's like more motivational, okay. But it usually doesn't last because it doesn't feel good. But can you create the life you want from the place that feels compassionate, from the place that feels like you're coming from the wholeness of who you are? And that's the life essentially we want to all achieve. So then, not why not to just start creating this now? And perhaps, yes, like one way to do it is just start reminding yourself, I am a creator, I am a co-creator with the universe. And a lot of times I like to use the nature as an example, because if we look at the nature, it's abundant and it's always been provided. It goes through the flow, it goes through the stages, and there is wind, and there is rain, and there is snow, and all of that. But it all changes just to show us that all is temporary. And I invite your audience to perhaps ask this question, like where they are right now, in whatever country they are. If they look at this situation like 3 years from now, would it really matter? This is one of the most powerful questions they can ask themselves, and just start looking like, okay, 3 years from now, would it really matter that I'm like mad at whatever is going on right now? Or I need to go to the market? So most likely, yeah, most likely, it's gonna hopefully give them relief. Like, I like to entertain this question quite a bit. And a lot of times, it doesn't really matter, but what I feel matters in the moment, and that's okay to feel it and just be okay with that, because when we feel the feelings, they simply dissolve. And the neuroscientist already confirmed it takes 90 seconds for the feelings to be felt and just kind of dissolved out of your body. But that's that beautiful acceptance. So that's why acceptance comes with you feeling the feelings and being real.
I love everything that you mentioned, and I'm really sure that our audience will really appreciate it, because some of those tips that you mentioned about, uh, like, would it matter, or how, like, is it serving me, and all those, like, as you said, question the current situation, question your current thoughts, ask yourself, is it really true? Does it serve? All those things are really, really powerful, and I'm sure our audience would love it. So just for our listeners, if you want to reach out to Jules, all the details are in the caption of the show, so you can reach out directly and you can work on yourself. It's okay. Like, as strong women, I'm telling you, it's okay to work on ourselves, to improve our life, to improve our well-being. Even if your life right now is really good, there's always room for improvement.
Absolutely.
Before we finish our show today, there's a question we ask all of our guests, and it is, what does a smooth and positive move abroad means to you?
It means to exercise the power of imagination that we all have, being curious, every day with the culture, with the traditions, with what is happening. Um, Also being okay that you don't understand a lot of it. That's why, like, be curious. Instead of perhaps judging they do certain things a certain way, just be curious. Imagine, and also perhaps create the life that you want to see in that country abroad, because you might think it's hard, but perhaps there are many other people wish they were in your place right now. So perhaps there is something maybe you don't see and the other people would like to experience. Maybe just again allow yourself to be curious to see, like, wow, what am I missing? Like, I'm here and there is a reason for me to be here. So if you look at life as an intelligent place, well, it's just working for you. Like, how can I grow with this experience? How can I benefit from where I am right now? And again, just be curious. I think that's what's gonna help you get through and make it smooth. You're not there to understand, you're just there to experience and be curious.
Oh, I love this last sentence of yours. You're not here to understand. That's totally true. And just experience this life abroad. This is your life, and you're the creator of your life. So just, you might as well enjoy it. And I want to thank you so much, Jules, for those amazing advices and for you sharing your experience of life abroad and your wisdom about life in general. This has been amazing.
Thank you for the opportunity to share, and I hope it's going to inspire your audience and they can take advantage of where they are, because they are in a pretty fun place.
That's true. Thank you, Jules, for being here with us today. And thank you for joining us on the Coffee Talkie Show, the podcast for women living abroad. We hope you enjoyed today's episode and gained valuable insights, tips, and inspiration for your journey as an expat.
If you have any questions, comment, or suggestions for future episodes, please feel free to reach out to us via our website or social media. And if you loved what we talked about today, please like, follow, and leave us a rating and a review on your favorite podcast platform. Until next time, sending positive vibes your way.